Welcome everybody to the Strange and Scary Mysteries of the Month, where we find the creepiest true crime stories from all around the world currently going down and lay them out here for you to check out. Thanks so much for tuning in to Scary Mysteries today. Here are the Strange and Scary Mysteries of the Month for July 2025. Number 5. The Carroll County Double Murder.
Well, after a months-long investigation, a teenage girl has now been charged in the killing of her mother and stepfather.
So the Carroll County Sheriff's Office says a 17-year-old was taken into custody this morning in connection with the February double homicide.
Now, sometimes evil doesn't knock. It just slowly grows in silence, right behind closed doors, in bedrooms down the hall where no one even thinks to look. It doesn't come from a stranger like many imagine. More often than not, true evil comes from those you're closest to. It was just after 4 p.m. on February 20th, 2025 in Carroll County, Georgia, when a 6-year-old girl discovered her mother, 41-year-old Kristen Brock, and stepfather, 45-year-old James, shot dead in their bedroom as they slept. Neighbors described the Brocks as a quiet, church-active family, loving, private, and raising 2 children. But somewhere along the line, it appears something had broken inside that home, and whatever it was, it led to bloodshed. Within hours, police were on scene and quickly realized they weren't just dealing with a double homicide here. They were dealing with one of the youngest alleged killers in Carroll County history. 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick was quickly identified as the primary suspect. She was the one who called 911 after her sister found the bodies. Authorities amassed mountains of physical and digital evidence, they said, including interviews, social media, and her own actions leading to her arrest. She's now been formally charged with 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Authorities believe they have enough to prove she pulled the trigger, though the full motive remains unclear at this time. At least, that's what they're telling the public.
We're still kind of putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, but I can tell you what led us here today, and that's the evidence that Sarah killed her parents.
And there's talk of tension at home, of course, psychological strain, and of something deeper bubbling under the surface, but so far no official explanation has been offered. Officials have hinted at possible additional arrests, but haven't elaborated. That, of course, leaves a lot of unanswered questions, though if you follow this channel or true crime in general, then you've seen this type of scenario play out many times before. The teenage girl who's stuck under the thumb of her parents' rule, finding a lover who's often older than them, which means that mom and dad, in this case Kristen and James, don't approve of. They tell their daughter to cut things off, but blinded by love, it's just not something they can do. And so the only option is murder. Obviously, that's just speculation at this point, and there's more variables at play in each and every case, but it wouldn't be surprising to see something like that pop up in this case. The neighbors described the family as quiet. One woman said she used to see Sarah outside with the younger kids, walking the dog and being a big sister, and nothing about her screamed killer. But then again, it rarely does. The GBI has kept tight control over information, and no 911 call audio has been released, no crime scene photos, just the bare facts and a teenager now facing life in prison. Sarah is being held without bond. The court has not yet ruled whether she'll be tried as an adult, but given the nature of the crime, it's likely. And if convicted, she could spend the rest of her life behind bars. Number 4. The UFO Over Pemrook. A good UFO sighting deserves to get some exposure, and recently in the state of Massachusetts, we got one that I think you guys will appreciate, and it was all caught on camera from a lady who was just chilling in her jacuzzi, minding her own business. It happened on the evening of June 26, 2025 in Pembroke, Mass., a quiet suburban town that sits about 30 miles south of Boston. And Colleen McCormick had just stepped outside to relax in her hot tub. And the air was calm, the sky getting dark. Nothing really was out of the ordinary until she looked up and saw it.
Melissa Azara in Pembroke, where a woman says she was enjoying the pool Wednesday night when she saw a strangely shaped and unfamiliar object falling from the sky just over there.
There, descending in the sky, essentially above her backyard, was something she couldn't explain. A glowing, flickering object dropping fast but in a controlled manner. And she pulled out her phone and started filming. The video lasts only 8 seconds, but it's enough to make you wonder. The object is spinning, pulsating with light, almost like it's on fire or perhaps using some type of propulsion system. Then it disappears. Colleen ran through the house to her front yard expecting to hear a crash or see smoke nearby, but there was nothing. No sound or debris. The object was nowhere in sight. It looked like something was falling from the sky, she later told reporters. My heart was pounding. The clip quickly went viral, spreading across TikTok, local news, and eventually national media. It made headlines under one common phrase: unidentified object falls from the sky. And here's where it gets even weirder. The FAA has no record of any aircraft in the area whatsoever. No downed planes or scheduled satellite re-entry. And Pembroke police confirmed they couldn't find any wreckage either. So what was it, and where did it go once it landed? Now, the old move by the media used to be to say that a UFO is just a weather balloon. You heard it all the time, starting from Roswell until very recently. And if there was an object in the sky that no one could explain, it was always a weather balloon. And to this day, that's what a lot of people think, that anyone who saw an object with bright lights zip across the sky, well, they were just mistaken. It was a weather balloon caught in a gust of wind, and those lights were just the reflection of the sun or moon. And it's not true, of course, at least not in all cases. But the new weather balloon is drones. Now that everyone in the world can fly these things, that's the go-to response. In fact, you'll probably never hear about a weather balloon again, because drones have lights and they're remote controlled. Much easier to convince people that it can do amazing things. But what Colleen caught on camera recently was no drone. It was something else, and you can see it with your own eyes. Now, some viewers have speculated it was a meteor. Others said it looked like space junk or maybe even a military drone. You know, because they're bigger and classified. But many were convinced this was something else, something not from here. And as strange as Colleen's sighting is, it's not the only one. In fact, across the country right now, especially in the last few months, reports of UFOs and UAPs have surged. In New York alone, more than 60 sightings were reported in the first half of 2025. People describing glowing orbs, triangular craft, spinning lights, and objects that move with physics-defying precision. The National UFO Reporting Center has been flooded with cases. The Pentagon's UAP Task Force, now operating under the name AARO, All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, has admitted they're tracking hundreds of unidentified aerial objects, and some of these have no explanation. As to what Colleen caught on camera that night, maybe it was a meteor or satellite debris, something ordinary that just happened to fall in a strange way. And maybe it was a military drone, something top secret, something not meant to be seen. Or maybe, just maybe, it was part of a larger phenomenon, one that's been happening for decades and only now starting to come to light. Number 3, the Ice Queen of Iron River.
When you look into the eyes of the so-called Devil Woman of Michigan, what do you see?
I see exactly what I saw from the very beginning. She's one of the most manipulative people that you'll ever meet in your entire life.
Chris Regan was the kind of guy people described as polite, smart, and driven. A former Air Force veteran, he was recently divorced and working at a local paper mill in Iron River, Michigan to make ends meet. But he was looking to get a fresh start. Around October 2014, he told friends he was planning to move to Asheville, North Carolina for a new job. Though, before he could make the move, Well, he vanished. His apartment was left eerily untouched. No sign of a forced entry. His keys were on the counter, and dishes still in the sink, so where'd he go? Well, in his place, police found a printed out set of driving directions that went from Regan's apartment to the home of Jason and Kelly Cochran. So they'd figured they'd ask them if they knew what happened. And Jason was a factory worker, quiet and reserved, not much for small talk. His wife Kelly, on the other hand, was the complete opposite, bold and flirtatious. As investigators would soon learn, very dangerous. When officers paid the Cochran house a visit, Kelly didn't flinch. She admitted she had a casual relationship with Chris, claimed her husband knew and wasn't happy about it. Said, though, that she hadn't seen Chris since early October. Okay, fair enough. Regan's car was then found abandoned in a remote park and ride lot off a rural highway. Inside, investigators found a post-it note with Kelly's phone number on it. It wasn't a smoking gun, but it definitely connected her further to Regan in the days leading up to his disappearance. But with no body or more evidence, it was hard for the case to move forward, and so for months it stalled. In February 2016, all that changed though when a 911 call came from Kelly saying Jason was dead. He had OD'd on heroin.
Wake County 911. His face is like blown. He's breathing barely. I don't know what's wrong. He's throwing up. He's sweating. I need an ambulance right away. And how old is the person? 37. Just get an ambulance here right now. Okay, stay on the line with me.
At the scene, they found a pillow partially covering Jason's head, and his family found the overdose to be very suspicious because, well, Jason had never used a drug ever before, and the autopsy confirmed their beliefs. The detectives pressed Kelly hard, and eventually the guilt was too much for her to deal with. She then told investigators that she and Jason had made a pact early in their marriage, that if either of them ever cheated, the other had to help kill the affair partner. According to Kelly, that's exactly what happened with Chris Regan. And she claimed she lured Chris to her home on October 14th and told him her husband was away, but when Chris walked through the door, Jason was waiting with a gun. She said Jason shot Chris in the head, and she helped him dismember the body in their basement. Then they cleaned up, packed the remains into garbage bags, and dumped them in the woods outside Iron River, scattering the parts so they'd never be found. And it would have ended there if Kelly hadn't decided Jason needed to die too. She later told police, quote, "He took the only good thing I had in my life, so I took the only good thing he had, his life." She chopped up heroin and injected him with a lethal dose, then held his nose shut until he suffocated. When he was gone, she then called it in. After her husband's death, Kelly moved to Kentucky, then Indiana, and eventually Tennessee. Along the way, she just couldn't stop talking. She bragged to friends about having a body count, made dark jokes about feeding someone to pigs, and hinted that there were more victims no one even knew about. Now, back in Michigan, police reopened the case. They brought in cadaver dogs and scoured the area around the Cochran home. That's when they found a hidden notebook, and in it, Kelly had drawn detailed maps of where they dumped Chris's body. She even wrote about the sound his skull made when Jason shot him. Using those maps, detectives finally recovered human remains in the woods outside Iron River, and dental records confirmed it was Chris. And by then, Kelly had already been arrested in Indiana for Jason's murder, and she eventually pled guilty and received a 65-year sentence. In 2017, she was extradited to Michigan and convicted of Chris's murder as well. That earned her another life sentence. But behind bars, Kelly kept talking. She told investigators she had killed more people, that she had snapped during an argument with someone in Chicago and left the body in an alley, that she injected a hitchhiker with a deadly mix of drugs and left them in a remote wooded area. In interviews, Kelly swings between remorse and cold detachment. Sometimes she cries, other times she laughs. But the picture that emerges is of a woman who thrived on control, who used manipulation and charm like weapons, and who ultimately destroyed everyone who got too close, including her own husband. Number 2, blood in the parking lot.
I decided to end my second marriage. When somebody wants to test me, don't challenge me, because I'm gonna prove you wrong.
She had escaped him once, moved on, started building something better, not just for herself, but for her 7 children. Gloria Zamora was done with the fear, done with the controlling, abusive man she once married. But on the morning of June 21st, 2025, her past didn't just catch up with her. It hunted her down and ended her life in a restaurant parking lot in Fontana, California.
Fitness influencer is among 3 dead. Police say she was shot and killed by her estranged husband, who also died in the shooting.
This is the brutal and very real story of Gloria Zamora, a 40-year-old fitness influencer, mother, and survivor whose life was stolen by the one person she had every reason to fear most, her estranged husband, Thomas Lizarraga. At first glance, Gloria's life seemed to be back on track. After leaving Thomas, she threw herself into building her online brand, promoting health, confidence, and healing. And she was radiant in front of the camera, always encouraging her followers to stay strong and stay moving and never give up. But privately, she was still looking over her shoulder. The split with Thomas hadn't been clean. According to those close to her, Gloria had experienced ongoing harassment and emotional abuse and control throughout the relationship. Even after separating, she told friends she feared what Thomas might do. That Saturday night, Gloria met a man named Hector Gorduno for a little dinner date. And Hector was a business partner, but also someone she had grown close to romantically. And they were parked outside Suma Sushi on Sierra Lakes Parkway in Fontana, sitting in his truck talking. At approximately 9:40 p.m., shots rang out. Thomas had found them. It's unclear whether he tracked her location or stumbled upon them by chance, but either way, he was armed, angry, and ready to kill. In a matter of just seconds, he opened fire on both Gloria and Hector at close range, striking them multiple times before anyone could even react. An off-duty San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputy, who happened to be nearby, heard the shots and rushed to the scene. As Lizarraga turned his weapon toward the officer, the deputy shot him, killing him on the spot. The parking lot of the restaurant was now a triple homicide scene. 2 innocent lives stolen and a killer stopped only by sheer chance. And Gloria and Hector were both pronounced dead at the scene. She was just 40 years old and he was 43. Between them, they leave behind 11 children. Gloria's 7 and Hector's 4 daughters. Unfortunately, Gloria's story isn't rare. In fact, it's horrifyingly common. According to national statistics, more than half of all murdered women in the U.S. are killed by current or former partners. Oftentimes, it happens after the victim has left, when they're trying to rebuild. The most dangerous time for a domestic abuse survivor is always the moment they walk away, which is why many of them don't. In Gloria's case, there were warning signs, but never enough to stop her ex before it was too late. What makes her murder especially tragic is how public her mission had become. Gloria had spent the last several years encouraging other women to find their strength, to take control of their health and their lives. On social media, she was an uplifting voice, a fighter and a beacon of positivity, but in the end, the system couldn't protect her. The street she walked, the life she tried to rebuild, none of it could stop a man intent on ending her story. Number 1. The 2025 Alien Interruption. There's a moment coming, if you believe the prophecy, where the entire world will be watching. A global audience tuned in to a major sporting event, millions of eyes on the screen. And then something unexpected happens. The feed is interrupted, a shape in the sky, something we weren't meant to see. It's not a glitch, though, or a plane. It's a visitor. If you believe the words of Baba Vanga, the blind Bulgarian mystic who's been credited with predicting everything from 9/11 to the rise of ISIS, this surreal moment isn't science fiction. It's a warning, and it could be just weeks away. If you don't know, Baba Vanga lost her sight during a violent storm when she was just a child. So she couldn't see physically, but that's when she claimed she gained the ability to see into the future. From her home in the Balkans, she made hundreds of predictions until her death in 1996. The reason people know about her is because she's been right about a lot of things. Her accuracy rate hovers somewhere around 80%. Among her most chilling forecasts, the Kursk submarine disaster, the Chernobyl explosion, and the September 11th attacks, all predicted years before they happened, and now her visions for 2025 are causing quite a stir. According to multiple reports, Baba Vanga foretold that in 2025 a UFO or alien encounter would disrupt a globally televised sports event, one so massive and well attended that there would be no denying it. It wouldn't be tucked away in the back of a blurry cell phone video. This time it would be right in the middle of the world stage, in front of cameras, in real time. So, what exactly did she say? While Baba Vanga didn't name the exact event or date, she rarely did, her prediction referenced a celestial disturbance that will halt the game. Many believe this could be a reference to the World Series or the Tour de France. Others think it could point to the UEFA Champions League final or the Rugby World Cup, both massive events watched by millions. Maybe even the Ryder Cup, which happens in September. And the scariest part is it wouldn't just be a visual. According to some interpretations, Baba Vanga said this interruption would mark the beginning of humanity's official contact with alien intelligence. Not a friendly handshake either, a disruption. A breakdown in communication, a moment that changes everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. Now, skeptics will say Baba Vanga's predictions are vague, retroactively interpreted, or outright embellished. And it's true. Her prophecies are often filtered through layers of translation, folklore, and hearsay. But even the most hardened debunkers can't deny the impact she's had on public consciousness. Because her prophecies tap into something deeper, an anxiety that's been growing for years, that something is watching, that something is coming. And when it arrives, it won't happen in the shadows. It will happen live, during the 7th inning stretch perhaps, when the whole world is paying attention. There's also this. UFO sightings are surging. In the US alone, over 1,000 reports were filed in just the first half of 2025. And in June, as mentioned earlier in the episode, a woman in Massachusetts filmed a mysterious shimmering object hovering in the sky. So when you take all that's happening, the timing, the prophecy, the headlines, you have to wonder, is Baba Vanga's 2025 warning already unfolding? Here's where it gets even weirder. Some UFO researchers believe that alien intelligence deliberately reveals itself in brief, fragmented ways, enough to shock, confuse, and divide opinion, but never enough to confirm the truth. And why? Because mass disclosure, according to them, could destabilize governments, religions, even the world economy. And their intention is not to ruin humanity in that way, but eventually, when everyone is primed enough to handle the truth, well, they will come forward and reveal themselves. So, what better time to do it than during an event when nobody can look away? And could you handle it if it were true? I think I could. I'm ready to know once and for all. And I think a lot of people feel the same. It might sound like fantasy, but just remember, Vanga's predicted the rise of a black US president, the Fukushima disaster, and the European refugee crisis, decades before they happened. So if she was right about all that stuff, what if she's right about this? As the clock ticks down in the summer of 2025, millions will be tuning in to the biggest games on Earth. But if Baba Vanga is to be believed, something else will be watching too. So there were the strange and scary mysteries of the month for July 2025. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you do like this type of content that Scary Mysteries is putting out and you want more, check out some of our other videos and podcasts, as well as the links down in the description. We have lots more for you guys to check out. Y'all stay safe out there. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you over in the next one.